basically he's become the face for this organization, and no coach since Jimmy Johnson left in '93 has been more involved in every aspect of this organization. And of course, Bill Parcells has built a career on turnaround organizations, and he's hopeful that he can do it again with this team. But there are so many questions that have to be answered if he's going to do it. And first and foremost, as the pregame show guy said, they have to make the decision as to who's going to be playing quarterback. So far, neither Quincy Carter nor Chad Hutchinson has emerged as that guy. Quincy Carter will be starting again tonight. Chad Hutchinson will see extensive playing time, however, but Bill Parcells is hopeful that he can make a decision following this game as to who's going to start that opener against Atlanta. But Chris, both of these guys are going to have a very difficult time playing well against this good Pittsburgh defense.
Oh, yeah, not a lot has changed over the years with this Pittsburgh defense. They're going to bring pressure and a lot of it. And ironically, I think that's exactly what the Dallas Cowboys want to see to test these two quarterbacks. Really what's changed here in Pittsburgh has been on the offensive side of the ball. They used to be a power running team, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Well, that's no longer the case. This is a pass-first team, and maybe the best evidence of that is the fact that Amos Zaraway, a much quicker, a much faster young man, is now the starting running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the great Jerome Bettis, who has done so much over the years, now relegated to the bench.
Number 10 on the all-time rush list. And guys, I think you agree with me. We look forward to this game because this is not a typical week 3 of the preseason game with so many questions out there for each organization. If you're Bill Parcells, who's going to be a quarterback? Is your running back good enough in Troy Hambrick? Question marks, but who's got answers? We hope to find some of those tonight. And the same for Bill Cowher, whether it's on their offensive line or with Tommy Maddox or defensively in their secondary. It's football, it's yours. Cowboys and Steelers next on Fox. Well, it is a humid night. I'm going to say humid. It's stuffy. It's hot. You sit on camera in a coat and tie under hot lights, you're going to sweat. And down on that field in this gorgeous stadium, right off the river, there is a breeze blowing through here, but it's not enough. Those players are going to sweat and sweat a lot tonight. And these coaches will be sweating through the proceedings this evening to see exactly what they have. And not only will this not be a typical week 3 of the preseason for each team, but it may not be a typical week 4 of the preseason next week for each side. And that will certainly be the case for the Dallas Cowboys, who will get to start with the ball on offense. And we'll get an early gauge on how Quincy Carter feels tonight. Plenty to talk about this evening, and we're glad you're with us. Reggie Swinton is waiting and in the end zone. Takes it out for the Cowboys. Makes a nice little move, and Swinton, who's one of the better returners, gets it out beyond the 30. So a little area and some room with which to work for Quincy Carter. Carter will check into this game in his career 6-9 as a starter in the NFL. And you look at his numbers last week in what was a thrashing of the Houston Texans, a 34-6 final.
Yeah, and I think that was a little bit of a surprise to a lot of people that he was able to go out and play last week the way that he did. In fact, Chad Hutchinson was scheduled to start this game tonight. Quincy Carter found out yesterday that he would in fact be making the start.
They start with a little fake reverse and hand to Hambrick, and while there are a lot of questions around Carter, there are certainly as many around Troy Hambrick, who still has to prove himself to Bill Parcells. The offensive line, they miss Al Johnson, and we do not see Larry Allen in the starting lineup. He is going to play a lot tonight.
And another question mark is at running back, where Troy Hambrick will again be playing, but the coaches want to see what he can do. Is he the type of back that can carry the load for 16 games?
He picked up 1 on that first carry. Now a little play action, and the pass is complete. That's Joey Galloway, brought down shy of a first down. And we look at the defense, ranked 7th in the NFL last year. Up front, they play a 3-4 with big Casey Hampton in the middle.
And I really think the key is the health of Kendrell Bell this season. Rookie of the year, his rookie season, and a guy that is such a difference maker for this Pittsburgh Steelers defense when he's healthy.
Crowd tries to climb into this game as Carter and the Cowboys stare at a 3rd and 2. They move Carter out of the pocket, and he hits his man on the run. Pass is caught by Williams, and a gain of 8 to get a fresh set of downs for the Cowboys.
You know, Troy, it's a little bit ironic that the quarterback selection for the Cowboys may well come down to how the Dallas offensive line plays tonight. If they play well and they don't feel like they have to have a mobile quarterback in there, maybe Hutchinson has a chance, but you just saw the mobility on that play. His ability to escape and move around that pocket, really probably his greatest asset in this competition.
Larry Allen on the bench at the start, was not on the team flight. Carter in trouble and just wings it toward the sideline. No penalty flag on the play, as there was a ton of pressure by Mike Logan.
Yeah, and Mike Logan, who was a backup safety last year, primarily played in nickel situations. This is one of the things that he does best. One, he's a good cover guy, but they also like the way that he's able to come off the corner in that slot position and blitz the quarterback. That's one of his real strengths.
But I thought for Quincy, that was basically a 10-yard saving play for him, just to get that football out of there. That's a play Hutchinson may not have been able to make.
Second down and 10. That's a changeup back. As the ball is handed to Avion Cason, a loss of 3 on the play. Hagens came in to make the stop.
And Hagen's playing for Jason Gilden this evening. Of course, the all-star outside linebacker. But they like Clark Hagens. He's a guy that they feel like brings a lot of energy to this defense, and you saw some of it right there. Good pass rushing.
There's Jason Gilden, 9 sacks a year ago, has some fluid on his knee, not playing in this game, but not serious for the injury. He'll be ready by the opener. It's 3rd and 13. Play action. And the pass is gunned. It's incomplete behind Galloway, and a penalty flag is down on the play. And it's a hold against Dallas.
Holding. Offense number 71. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
Well, and that's one of the areas that Bill Parcells has tried to stress. He's trying to minimize penalties, and it was 3rd down. It was incomplete, so it goes to 4th down. But still, you have the penalty, and it backs the team up. He's not going to be happy about that. And Bill Parcells has done a good job of coming in here and instilling some discipline in his ball club. He thinks the greatest way for them to improve is, one, in special teams, but also in limiting the mental mistakes that they've made.
Deshae Townsend is waiting for the punt from Toby Goen. And a beautiful punt. Townsend calling for the fair catch, and he takes it at his 10. So Quincy Carter has had a series. Now it's Tommy Maddox and the Steeler offense to work, no score.
If you haven't looked at Ford lately, look again.
A couple of beautiful stadiums have popped up in Pittsburgh, whether it's PNC Park or Heinz Field. They have really done themselves proud in this city. 2 jewels to come watch their teams, and it's the Steelers, the beloved Steelers. So far 0-2 this preseason as Tommy Maddox, a play fake, has his man Ward wide open, and a catch for a 1st down. Tap down just shy of the 30. Tommy Maddox is an incredible story. When you go through his history, 92, 93 with the Broncos, then the Rams, the Giants, was in camp with the Falcons, out of football, selling insurance in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Don't know, Troy, if you have any policies with them. New Jersey Red Dogs in the Arena League, LA Extreme in the XFL. He was the MVP of that memorable franchise. It won it all. 1st down from just shy of the 30, and an end around to Heinz Ward. Great block by Maddox out front, and Ward a nice gain on 1st down. He got 8. Offensively, Kendall Simmons is such a key. He is at right guard, diagnosed with diabetes, and they are trying to figure out the right blood sugar levels for him. He lost 30 pounds before camp.
Yeah, this group right here is as good as there is in football. Of course, Amos Zaraway got the announcement that he's going to not only be starting this game, but he's also going to be starting the season opener when they open up against Baltimore.
So you've got Bettis on the bench. And it's 2nd down and 1, and this is Zaraway, and he loses yards. Good push up front by this Dallas defense. And it is a defense that Bill Parcells will tell you is scrappy, but not dominant. And up front, you've got a 3-time Pro Bowler in Leroy Glover, who says, I'm just looking for somebody else to step up and help me. And somebody's going to have to up front if this Dallas defense is going to take the next step.
A lot of speed at linebacker, and the young man we've all been impressed with, Terrence Newman, the number 5 pick overall in this year's NFL draft, really has a lot of skills.
Antoine Randall L in motion. It's 3rd down and 3, and the pass is caught by the new tight end Remersma. A gain of 4 and a 1st down on a pretty throw from Tommy Maddox.
Well, we talked about Amos Zaraway and how he's making the start also in the season opener. Coach Bill Cowher also announced that Remersma is going to be making the start in the season opener as well, and it's for this reason. They've been wanting a guy at that tight end position that can be a receiving threat. As you can tell, not only can he move very well, but he also has the agility to make some of the difficult catches.
Mark Bruner, who has been starting at tight end, had only 13 catches last year. It's 1st down, and Maddox floats it. Burris, the intended receiver, and he was covered well by Woodson. In fact, so well, the crowd here in Pittsburgh wanted a flag.
Yeah, Woodson had him over the top, and Terrence Newman had him down low. Plexico Burris, a terrific wide receiver, and this is going to be a great test for the young corner, Terrence Newman. Good jam at the line of scrimmage, and you can see the speed. He's able to run stride for stride with just any receiver in the league. Don't want to say he's all the way up to Deion Sanders kind of speed, but he certainly can keep up with anybody in this league.
Would it take 4 practices for Newman to find himself running with the 1st unit in Dallas? A toss. And trying to do all he can is Vernon Hayes. And Haynes is brought down after a gain of 1. In camp, this is the deal with Bill Parcells. You have to earn your star. He's got his tape on the front of his helmet like he's in high school, and you'll see the appreciation that Parcells has for Newman bringing him water. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Bill Parcells said, hey, it's not that bad. He's only going to have to do it for the whole season.
It's 3rd down and 9. Maddox has his man wide open, and the catch is made by Lee Mays, who has taken a step forward with his strong camp, and he is now the new entrenched number 4 receiver for the Steelers.
A lot of questions about this offensive line for the Pittsburgh Steelers. People being moved around, sicknesses, illnesses. Here you see Oliver Ross, who's battling for the right tackle position. The Steelers had a little uppercut and got rid of that.
Lord, how did that not get a flag?
But they are doing a great job picking up some of the Dallas Cowboys blitzes coming at them.
On 1st down, it's Zaraway, and he is hammered. Al Singleton, the former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, after Zaraway had trouble with his footing early, a loss of 3 on the play.
And if they're not going to give Zaraway any better protection than that, they might want to reconsider who their tailback's going to be and put Jerome Bettis back in. Zaraway is not as big or as physical as what Jerome Bettis is. His strength is really being able to slash and cut across the grain and get onto the outside, but trying to run between the tackles on these last 2 carries for him have been very difficult.
Minus 5 yards on those 2 carries for Zaraway. It's 2nd and 13. Maddox has time over the middle. Pass is complete, Ward, and the ball comes out. Now they're saying incomplete. Initially they said a catch, and then it was the back judge that came running up to say incomplete.
Well, and this isn't something you're going to see a lot of from Heinz Ward. He had 112 receptions last year. Got very sure hands, but right there he catches the ball and tries turning upfield a little too soon before he gets it secured.
And I know people in Dallas right now are screaming that that looked like a completed pass, but this league is really going to give the benefit of the doubt to the offensive player in that situation. Going to get a challenge on this one. But anytime you have that type of a play, they're going to have to catch it, secure it, turn around and make a football-related move before they're going to say that's a completed pass and a fumble.
Yeah, and that's the big key, is he's got to show that he's got the ball secured and put away before they're going to consider it a completed pass.
We get another look at it, and this is something that the league has really made a point of, Chris, as you said, really the last year. You heard a lot of talk about it leading into the season last year, and we heard it again this year. And the question is, did Ward secure it, and was he
There is no challenge on the play.
Football act?
Well, and the reason there's no challenge on the play is because the whistle had blown. So even if the referees had ruled that, in fact, that was a catch and a fumble, the whistle would have blown, and it still wouldn't have been the Dallas Cowboys ball. A lot of times the officials will actually go up to the coach, in this case Bill Parcells, and say, Coach, you can't win here. You don't want to challenge that when you can't win.
So Parcells throwing the flag, but then in essence the officials picking it up. This is the 10th play of the drive, and so far the Steelers 2 for 2 on 3rd down. Movement up front, penalty flags, and the pass is complete to Plexico Burress, but no play. And Maddox is standing there with his palms up to the sky saying, why didn't you let that play continue?
Because they're calling it on the offense.
False start, number 80. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Even though there was movement on the right side of the defensive line, and that's obviously Bill Cowher's main argument, they're calling it on the offense, so it was no free play.
Now, if the defense had jumped and forced an offensive man over him or next to him to jump, then it still would have been on the defense. But if a wide receiver moves, then that rule doesn't apply.
On the game clock. Thank you.
So they put 4 more seconds on the game clock. So reset your stopwatches at home. There's 7:48 left in this first quarter, and it's now 3rd and 18. Four-man rush for the Cowboys. And setting up a screen. This is Heinz. And he spins his way inside Dallas territory. Roy Williams on the tackle, and a gain of only 9. It's time for a Steeler punt.
And I think Quincy Carter's over there, Troy, saying, thank goodness the defense stopped him. I only get to play the first quarter. I've got to have a couple of drives here to get something working.
That's the bad thing that happens when they designate going into a preseason game that you're only going to play X number of minutes, and then the next guy's coming in, certainly wants to maximize his opportunities tonight.
The punt by Miller. And the catch is made by Dantzler, a fair catch after a 37-yard punt. And now the Cowboys will have it starting at their own 10 in a scoreless first quarter. And Jeremy Shockey and the New York Giants will be taking on the St. Louis Rams at Giant Stadium, which should be a tremendous matchup the first week. And Shockey right now is trying to get back on the field with the cracked rib.
And let's hope that he does his talking on the field for a little while now. Some embarrassing comments coming out of Jeremy Shockey earlier this year.
Well, I think Jeremy's learned his lesson. He came in and really just took New York by storm, and I think he's a young guy, somewhat immature, and I think he's having to learn that he's better off if he tries to keep his mouth to himself and let his football do his talking for him.
He's pretty good on the field.
Yes, he is.
So here is Quincy Carter. And here are the Cowboys starting from their 10. On a slant, the pass is incomplete. Glenn, the intended receiver.
Yeah, we should let everyone know that Antonio Bryant, who's the outstanding young wide receiver for the Cowboys, not playing in this one because of a thigh injury, nothing serious. They just want to give him an opportunity to rest and get ready for opening day. Parcells really likes this receiving core. He thinks it's probably the strength of this football team.
Well, Parcells has got everybody on this Dallas team muttering to themselves, shaking their head, wondering where they stand and what's going on as Hambrick is trying to find room to run and finds nothing. And that really is true with the quarterbacks. And Troy, they say they want somebody to step up and lead, yet it can't be easy if you're Quincy Carter or you're Chad Hutchinson and you don't know where you stand. It's tough to step up and start barking out signals if you don't know if you're the guy.
Well, that's true. And until you are the guy and you're producing on the field, you cannot truly be a leader, not only for that offensive group, but for the football team as a whole. And right now, it's a very unsettled position, and both of these quarterbacks, Chad Hutchinson and Quincy Carter, are very confused by the situation.
But Carter has it sitting out in front of him, it would seem, more than Hutchinson, who I think is right now looking at the number 2 spot at best.
Well, I know this, Joe, that Bill Parcells has continually said that he does not want to be rushed into making a decision as to who his quarterback's going to be. But that decision has to be made. Whether he wants to make it or not, he's got to go into this season with a clear-cut #1 guy and get the team rallied behind him and allow the team to know that this is the one who's going to lead us. And then if you want to make a change later in the season, do that. But you can't have uncertainty with the rest of this group as to who's going to be pulling the trigger behind center.
Oh, this will be nice. Player running out late on the field for the Dallas Cowboys. Who will get yelled at? Jamal Brooks. Line drive punt, and Randall L. will take it on a hop. And hop on out of bounds. Up at the 47. So the Steelers take a great field position. No score here in the first quarter.
To you by the new Fire Grilled Chicken Caesar Club at Burger King, the salad and a sandwich. By Sprint, proudly offering picture mail and PCS Vision picture phones. And by Visa, if you love the NFL, it's everywhere you want to be.
A little more conversation, a little less action. You like that little Elvis remix?
That sounded more like Elvis than Elvis did.
Not me. I mean, they're playing in the stadium here.
I like yours better.
No, I don't. I don't. But I want to, and I know you guys do too, want to give the Steelers their just due in this game, and they are deserving of it. They're one of the elite teams in the AFC. And they have to go in as a favorite in the AFC North. But this Dallas situation is so combustible right now and confusing that it's tough not to talk about it. They had movement all along the line of scrimmage. No flags at the start of the play as Zeraway has his best run of the night, a gain of 5.
And I think you see a little bit of the quickness that allowed Amos Zeraway to become the starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game. He just has the ability to find holes and accelerate through them in such a way that they have some big play potential. That and the fact, Troy, that they can throw the football to him, dump it off in one-on-one situations a la Marshall Faulk, and he can pick up some cheap first downs for him.
Second down at 5 now. And Maddox to the sideline. A little push off from the receiver Heinz Ward, and a gain of 19.
What a luxury Tommy Maddox has, having the ability to throw the ball to a guy like Heinz Ward. Forget the other receivers that they have. This is as good a trio as there is in the National Football League. But Heinz Ward takes so much pride in everything that he does out on the football field and does a great job of running routes. Of course, he used to be a quarterback, and Tommy said that that has really helped him because he understands coverages and knows how nice it is running routes.
Antoine Randall L. lines up at quarterback, and they hand to Haynes as he runs left. And Haynes is trying to force his way for a first down, brought down about a yard shy.
You know, one of the things that they miss without Cordell Stewart on this team is with Cordell, teams were forced to prepare for a lot of different styles of play, a lot of gadgets and trick plays, and the Steelers didn't want to lose that. So they brought Antoine Randall L. into the situation, a former quarterback, where he comes in and they have a few gadget plays, and Mike Mularkey, the offensive coordinator, said, you know, Bill Cowher is considered a conservative guy, but he likes those gadget plays. He thinks they work.
Brings up second down and 1. Zeraway. A lot of side to side, not much running north, and Zeraway got nothing. You know, it could have been an uglier situation than it was when Cowher made the decision to go with Zeraway. And to me, it speaks to the class of that guy right there. This is a future Hall of Famer, number 10 on the all-time rushing list. He's been lights out since he's come to Pittsburgh. That is a smart, classy, mature football player you're looking at in Jerome Bettis.
Well, I don't think anybody's ever questioned what type of guy he is, and he's still got some years left being able to run this football, and he's going to help this team down the stretch.
Third down and 1, and Zeraway trying to pick his way forward for a first down, and it depends on the spot.
You know, you talk about Amos Zaraway and the fact that he is getting the start and what his strengths are, and a big part of that decision in announcing that he was going to be the starter is the fact that Jerome Bettis has been banged up each of the last 2 seasons going into the playoffs, and Zaraway has been the guy that they've had to rely on. And I think they also feel that if they go with Zaraway, see what he can do, also what he combines with this team in the passing game, that it will also help Jerome Bettis in the long run, because hopefully he'll be more healthy as they enter postseason play.
You know, Troy, what's ironic, though, is that Bettis is healthier right now than he's been the last 3 or 4 years. He started his training regimen much earlier than he ever has. He feels great. He's only missed 1 practice. That's because somebody stepped on his foot. And don't be fooled. I mean, he's upset, but he's doing the classy thing, Joe, that you talked about, and he doesn't want to disrupt this football team. But I asked him, how are you going to feel playing out there tonight? Anything special you're going to try and do? He says, well, it is a bit of an audition now for me.
It's a first down. Ball at the 19-yard line, and Zaraway right up the middle. Gain of 5.
You know, for the Steelers, they can hit you with so many different things, and the gadget plays and the motion and the reverses and all that. And then all of a sudden you start feeling yourself getting a little bit spread out, and all of a sudden they come right back to their power football. You know, that's what's so great about this offense, is you begin to think that they're going to attack you in all these different ways, but they still have the capability to just pound it up in there.
Second down and 5. And Maddox loses the football coming away from center.
Yeah, of course, Jeff Hardings, who's the center, he has not been able to practice. He's had a bad knee. It's been bothering him, and basically bone on bone, and this is the first chance that he's had to get to play. And so I would imagine that part of the problem there with the center quarterback exchange has been the fact that he hasn't been in the games playing.
And Hardings may be looking at his final 2 years in the NFL. If he wanted one of those long careers on an offensive line, a Jackie Slater type career, he'll tell you it just isn't going to happen with a degenerating left knee. So they've got Hardings with a bad knee. Simmons is dealing with diabetes. They lose Gandy to New Orleans. They move Marvell Smith to left tackle. And Haynes lost the football. They're going to call it incomplete as the line judge comes over. And that'll bring up 4th down. So after getting the ball inside the 20 to the 19, the Steelers went backward.
Well, and it's a lot like Mike Mularkey said yesterday when we were talking with him, offensive coordinator. He said, we've got to do a much better job when we get into the red zone. What's happened is we've gotten inside the 20-yard line, and we've either had penalties or we've had turnovers, interceptions, and we've had to settle for field goals. On this particular drive, of course, the center quarterback exchange got him in long down situation and failed to be able to convert on 3rd.
36-yard try by Jeff Reed. And this guy has got some big, thick legs, and he can boom it. 7 of 19 in this department during the regular season last year. Good snap, good hold. And the kick is no good. So a strong leg, and he's trying to plead his case, saying it went over the upright. Nothing wrong with the snap or the hold. Just pushed a little right. And there's still no score here in Pittsburgh. Well, here is the miss. And for this big leg kicker, Jeff Reed, this is basically a chip shot. And this was considered wide right.
Heinz Field has not been kind to field goal kickers. 15% more misses here than anywhere else in the league.
Toss to Hambrick running left, and there is nothing there. Coming up was the safety, Brent Alexander. And at some point, guys, we're going to see Larry Allen check into this game. And it's going to be interesting to see how he gets along. That's another soap opera story in Dallas.
Well, it is, and Larry has been banged up each of the last 2 seasons. Really has not played much football the last 2 years, and came into camp, had lost some weight, but he was not in good cardiovascular condition, and that's been a sore spot with Bill Parcells, and he's been limited in his playing time so far in the preseason.
On second down, setting up a screen to Hambrick. And Troy Hambrick puts his head down and is brought down at the 34 by Higgins after a gain of 10.
And just to follow up on the story, Larry Allen, for some personal reason, missed the airplane yesterday. And when we talked to Bill Parcells, he wasn't upset, I don't think, but it just added to the fire just a little bit. And Larry's a guy that has been given a lot of breaks over the past few years as far as practice time is concerned, and give a little break here, a little break there. And with Bill Parcells, you don't get many breaks, and I'm not sure it's sitting too well with Larry Allen either.
Doesn't look too happy over there, Troy.
He's never happy when he's not on the field.
Not able to run the ball. That's bad news for Dallas. But they aren't able to throw it. And the pass is complete to Campbell for a Cowboys first down.
You know, one of the great things about having a big running back, and Troy Hambrick is at least 240, isn't he, Troy? I mean, he's a big guy out there. But we saw him.
He's more like 250.
Okay, I was going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But we saw him last week with a big blitz pickup, and he got another one right there.
Do you have anything else? We have 10 seconds.
Nope, I'm finished.
Now we have 8.
Take it home.
Now they're hopping around, and now they're tackling and hitting. Ooh, wow. No score after 1. Going to knock you out. They are not impressive for either side. After 1 quarter of play, there is no score. Allen is in the game for Dallas, and that right there is what Quincy Carter brings that Hutchinson does not have, and that is that escapability, the ability to throw the ball on the run, which is one of the main reasons why it looks like they're leaning toward Quincy Carter at this point in the preseason.
Well, yeah, when you're limited at the skill player positions and then your offensive line is somewhat suspect, then obviously you'd like to have someone who's very mobile within the pocket. Clearly that would then give the advantage to Quincy Carter, because in a situation right there he can escape the rush and he's also got the ability to make plays.
2nd down and 10. That's Kason. And the former Ram gets it inside Pittsburgh territory, a gain of 4.
You know, and to go back to Larry Allen and what he has been through, you know, it is very difficult when a great player begins to see his skills diminish. And not just any great. I mean, Larry Allen is a Hall of Fame lineman at some point once he retires, and he is arguably the best offensive lineman for several years, and he's had the injuries, and many wonder and question as to whether he's ever going to get back to that all-pro form. And if he can't stay healthy and he can't condition, it's going to be very difficult for him to do that.
3rd down and 6. Carter steps up and now he'll run. Another indication as to why they're leaning toward Carter as he picks up a Dallas first down.
Well, and you know, Joe, last year within the offense, Quincy Carter really felt like he was handcuffed back in the pocket, that this was not something that he could do, that he could not utilize his skills, that he was being asked to play within a system that forced him to be a pocket passer. Clearly, when you consider why Dallas drafted him, these are the reasons why they did. He has the mobility, he can make plays when they're not there, and his feet are a big asset to him.
Handoff. Running right is Richie Anderson, one of the few players that has tasted camp and life with Bill Parcells. A nice gain of 6. And Chris, if you're Chad Hutchinson standing on the sideline, he didn't play at all against Houston. You're seeing Carter move the team down the field now against the #1 defense for the Steelers. You got to be thinking to yourself, Bill Parcells' handwriting is now on the wall.
I guess, but I think Bill Parcells is going to give Chad Hutchinson a full shot in this game too.
Anderson again. Nice run. And Richie picks up another Cowboy first down, a gain of 6.
Well, I really like Richie Anderson. I think he brings so much to this offense. Almost a Larry Centers kind of a player. Great receiver coming out of the backfield. But those quick hitting plays from the fullback position is something that the Cowboys haven't had in a long time. Bill Parcells said, you know, in the league right now, these linebackers are playing so deep and using their speed that you have to take advantage with the fullback and pop some quick ones up in there. Back-to-back plays to Richie Anderson.
Well, in the past, it's been all Emmitt Smith. With this new version of offense, both these backs are going to be carrying the load.
Play action from Carter, who has time and now dumps it off to Hambrick. And a little move by Troy to get him to the 19, a gain of 6.
And I think if you look at the development of Quincy Carter, right there exemplifies his progress within this offense, because a year ago he would move around right there and then he would try to force something down the field even though there's nothing open, but he surveys the field, see there's nothing there, and then comes down to his check down to Troy Hambrick, and I think Bill Parcells is starting to get through to him.
He's getting through to a lot of guys.
You think so?
Yeah. Guys are wandering around aimlessly in the hotel lobby looking for answers. Galloway makes a move and gets a first down.
You know, I thought the most telling thing of what you just said, Joe, is when we were interviewing Quincy and you try and ask him a question to get something out of him. We said, well, you think you're going to start? And he said, I don't know, man. He says, what do you think you have to do to start? I don't know, man. You know, what does starting mean? I don't know, man. I don't want to talk about this. I'm afraid I'm going to make him mad. And literally, he would not read a newspaper. He would not watch television. He said he left the training camp with a $400 bill for movies because he was afraid to hear what anybody was saying.
Crowd has been quiet. Now they're in it trying to help the defense. And what a move by Quincy Carter. Carter turns a negative play into something. Pressure by Hagens, and he missed a sack that was right there in his lap.
And that's not like Hagens either. I mean, he's become one of the premier pass rushers on this team. Last year he took over for a spot that Kendrell Bell was going to be occupying, but because of his injury did not. But Clark Hagens is a heck of a football player. But that just again shows you what Quincy Carter can do. One, he missed the blitz. He's got to be able to see that and get the ball out, but at least he was able to make a good play out of it.
Now it's 2nd down and 8. Kendrell Bell came across early, and the question was, well, who's it on? Is it on Bell coming across, or is it on the offensive lineman moving? And the officials get together and talk about it. Looked like it was on Pittsburgh.
Neutral zone infraction on the defense. Player jumped in the neutral zone, causing the offense to false start. That's a 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
Good job by Quincy Carter picking up a cheap 5 yards in the part of the field where it's most difficult to get 5 yards. I think it's been a good drive by Quincy Carter. If he can find a way to stick this thing in the end zone, Joe, I think I'm going to have to agree with you. It's going to be awfully difficult for Chad Hutchinson to do something to overtake him.
Whereas it looked like it was stacked up against Carter a week ago, it looks like it's now all stacked up against Hutchinson. That's Richie Anderson. And a nice play. Nice play made by one of the 4 linebackers, Ferrier. No gain on the play. That'll bring up 3rd down.
Yeah, and Bill Cowher couldn't wait to talk about James Ferrier, a guy who's just had an outstanding training camp, and he knew that Dallas was going to come into this game and want to try to run the football against them, and he was really looking forward to it because the first 2 opponents didn't do a lot of that, and he wanted to see how his defense was going to hold up against a big offensive line that was going to attempt to run the ball. Last year, that was a real strength of this defensive team.
It sounds silly, but this is a big play in Quincy Carter's career.
It's a 3rd and 4. Sets up throws. He hits Galloway, and Galloway is in for the touchdown. Nice throw, better catch, and a great effort by Joey Galloway to get into the end zone.
Well, if it was that big, does that mean he gets to start?
I don't know. You tell me. You're the Dallas Cowboys guy.
It was big.
I think it is. You know, and it's a good thing that this was man coverage, and Chad Scott really a mile off for the goal line, gave him a lot of room out there to Joey Galloway. The ball was thrown a little bit behind Galloway, but because Scott was so soft, still able to make the play.
Cundiff for the extra point. It's 7-0 Dallas. All the Cowboys and Bill Parcells and Jerry Jones wanted to talk about was the test and the pressure facing these 2 quarterbacks coming in, taking on a very good Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So far, so good for Quincy Carter, trying to win the spot here tonight. Last year gets into the end zone at the end of an impressive drive, 13-play drive, orchestrated by Quincy Carter. And on the final play, a question in the mind of Bill Cowher as to whether Galloway got in. I'm waiting, we're walking, looking for help from the booth from above. Okay, they said he got in, I'll put it away. And Carter's getting congratulations over on the sideline, and I don't know against a very good Pittsburgh defense. And maybe the questions now are about this Pittsburgh defense. They have no interceptions, no fumble recoveries in this preseason. They're trying to get something going, and here's Carter with very little confidence. How could he have any? Coming in and taking them down the field.
Yeah, they can't be happy about that. They were able to do a good job against the run, with the exception of Quincy Carter's scrambles, but Quincy Carter was able to throw the football, and that is a concern coming into this camp.
Toby going. Kicks it to Ike Taylor. Took it from the 5. Penalty flag on the play. They're all over the place, and so's Taylor. Taylor is forced out of bounds, and a nice effort and good hustle by Jeff Sanchez. But there are flags all over the field.
You know, Ike Taylor, really kind of a raw football player at the quarterback position, but boy, they really like his potential. Great speed on the outside.
During the return, number 57, 10-yard penalty. First down, Pittsburgh.
Clint Crewalt, guilty of the hold. And you're going to see it at some point, I promise, and it will be worth the wait. I'm guilty of a lot of things, but falsely promoting something, that's not one of them. Here's the hold on Scott by Crewalt.
Yeah, Clint Crewalt thought he was playing linebacker there. Tackles Lynn Scott. That's a pretty easy call right there.
A race to 62-yard return. And the Steelers now start at their own 15. Jerome Bettis in the backfield. And they start with a throw to the fullback, Kreider. And Kreider is falling forward for a gain of 9.
Jerome Bettis, I don't know if he's letting off a little steam or not, but in his first snap since being told he was going to the bench, watch this hit. Kaboom! I mean, dead flat on his back. Leroy Glover, a big defensive lineman. Wow, what an opening shot.
Bigger set for the Steelers as they have 2 tight ends in the game. That includes Bruner. And Bettis helping out, blocking for Maddox, and he has time to unleash it to Heinz Ward. First down, Pittsburgh, and our first welcome for Pam Oliver down on the field. Pam.
Hey, Joe, a little bit more about Steelers right guard Kendall Simmons. Because of that diabetic condition you spoke about, he now has to monitor his blood sugar 4 to 5 times a day. He has to give himself insulin shots twice a day. Now, the trainers have equipment right here on the sideline to monitor things. In fact, I saw them give Simmons a blood sugar test right before the kick, and again, a few minutes ago. It's going to be that way all season long until things get under control.
All right, Pam, and according to Tommy Maddox, Simmons is the key to that offensive line as Ward is on the receiving end again and then shows some moves as he picks up a first down.
Well, and it is going to be a battle for Kendall Simmons, and quite frankly, it's somewhat surprising that he's been able to get back in the lineup as early as what he has. Of course, the diabetic condition, but he lost 30 pounds as a result of that, so he's had to work back into the shape, get his weight back on, and then work back into football condition in order to get back on the field. But this is a very important game for him, as well as Jeff Harding's, so that they could work together.
And right next to Simmons is Todd Fordham. He's moved in at right tackle. They're trying to figure out who's going to play that spot. Ross started there. A lot of contact and a touchdown for Burris. Penalty flag back in the backfield. And Larry Nemmers is waving his hands. It is a hold, and it's coming back.
Boy, what a play, though, by Plexico Burris.
Holding offense, number 77, 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Marvell Smith, who's trying to be the man at left tackle.
Yeah, Marvell Smith, who had been the right tackle the last 2 years, moving over to left tackle, and right there got the arm around the chin strap of Ebenezer Ekubon.
And Plexico Burris, because Mario Edwards did not turn around in time, has the right to go back into the defensive back and fight for the football. Close to a pass interference play, but Burris using that big body as he did so well a season ago. But what a difficult guy to try and stop him for Mario Edwards. He's out there battling Derrick Ross for that starting spot. That's not going to look very good.
preseason is a time to limit penalties, try to get things tightened up. The Steelers have lost plays during this possession as that's out of the reach of Antoine Randall L. They've lost plays of 62 yards on the kickoff because of a hold, and then a 50-yard pass completion for a touchdown because of the hold on Marvell Smith.
And it looked like on that play, Tommy Maddox went a 3-step drop. He thought that the receiver was going to run that a little bit shorter. But right now, Tommy Maddox, and there's a lot of questions right now as to whether or not he's going to be able to live up to the season that he had a year ago. And when you think about Tommy Maddox, he has really only played a season and a half when you consider how many throws he's made in this league.
Zaraway back in the lineup, testing out the left side and picking up 5.
Yeah, it was interesting listening to him talk about his days in the Arena Football League playing for the New Jersey squad, and they didn't have a locker room, so they had to dress out of the trunk of their car. And he said anytime you're running towards that wall over there, he said you don't want to throw the ball and run into the wall, because then you get, he said you throw the ball and jump, so you land in the stands. He said the human beings sitting at the game are a lot softer than that wall over there.
Taught him to get rid of the ball quickly. XFL did that as well. Hard snap count. Cowboys don't budge. And over the middle. Pass complete. Burris. And a first down at the 45. Gain of 19.
Well, at least Burris waited until he was ruled down before he slammed it there. Now, you watch Tommy Maddox, and he is not the most mobile guy, but this is what you've got to do as a quarterback. He steps up into the pocket, buys himself some time. Of course, Burris, as an in route, he presents a big target, 6'5", presents his numbers. Tommy Maddox is able to get him the ball.
Jeff Harding's the center with a great block to set up that pass as well.
This crowd wants to see Bettis carry the ball. They get their chance. Jerome running left. The boss unleashed. And a nice gain for the classy tailback. 9 yards.
One thing that is so difficult, as you get a little tired, and believe it or not, in the second quarter of preseason games, believe me, you're getting a little tired out there. To see Jerome Bettis turn the corner and think you've got to put your head down and try and tackle that guy, it wears you out. I really do believe, though, that Jerome Bettis, who's one of the great fan favorites here, as the season goes along and his defenses wear down, he's going to have a role with this team.
Second down and 1. Maddox to the end zone. His buddy Burris and a touchdown. This time, no flags.
Tommy Maddox with time to throw. Nobody's been able to get much pressure on him. And again, Plexico Burris working one-on-one on Derek Ross. And every time that Dallas has been in one-on-one situations, Pittsburgh has taken advantage of those matchups.
Reed knocks it through to tie it. And I bet there are a lot of ex-quarterbacks, maybe even some who announce, that look at the kind of receivers that Tommy Maddox gets to work with. They salivate. Burris into the end zone at 7-7.
Ford Lately Look Again. And By the Order, starring Heath Ledger, September 5th, only in theaters.
We're going right to the replay.
One of the things that's just so difficult, anytime you get a receiver cut down close, there's just so much field to work with out here that it really puts the corner in a bind. But Plexico Burris and Heinz Ward has put a major bind on these cornerbacks. Edwards, Ross, Newman, none of them have been able to match up with the Steelers receivers.
And I think if you look at that play, Plexico Burris, as we've said, he's a tall guy, 6'5", that his speed is deceiving. So Derek Ross doesn't realize that he's catching up to him as fastly as what he is. And by the time he does recognize it, Plexico Burris is by him to the corner, and there's nothing that he can do about it.
Both receivers for the Steelers last 2 years, over 1,000 yards. It's the first time in Steelers history that that has ever happened. And when you consider there were a couple of guys named Swan and Stallworth around here, that's saying something.
Stallworth is the #1 receiver on the Steelers all-time list with 537 catches. Ward is #4 on that list. As Reggie Swinton goes right up the gut. And he is knocked down as he got to the 26. Oh, who's coming out at quarterback? Who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Don't know yet. It's Hutchinson. 7-7. Well, Bill Parcells loves to put players in pressure situations. And if you can have a boatload of pressure in the preseason, it is squarely on the shoulders and I'm sure in the head of Chad Hutchinson.
Well, especially by the fact that Quincy Carter goes out there and does his job for the second week in a row. Chad Hutchinson has not played in a preseason game in 2 weeks.
Played the first game against Arizona, didn't play against Houston. And fires, has a man, and hits Galloway. Joey Galloway working out of bounds, knocked out at the 48. Galloway has had a nice night. Porter was there to force him out of bounds.
Yeah, Joey Galloway has had a nice night, but he's had a tough couple of years since he joined the Dallas Cowboys from Seattle. The Cowboys gave up 2 #1 picks to get his services. The first year that he was there, he went out with a season-ending injury in the opening game, and since that time, he has just not been able to be the player that they had hoped he would. A lot of that lies on the fact that they've had different offensive coordinators and different head coaches the last 2 years.
Hutchinson is hit and dropped, and penalty flags come in. The pocket closing around Hutchinson. He did not recognize it, went down. Joey Porter got to him, and we'll check the call from Larry Nemmers. And which way you going? To his left. It's against Dallas.
Holding. Offense, number 73. Penalty is declined. Second down.
Well, that was a hold on Larry Allen against Joey Porter, and Joey Porter, you know, just an outstanding pass rusher. And you look at Chad Hutchinson, though, and what he has done when he's had the football. He has not had the ability to escape the rush. In fact, the sacks that he absorbed last year are a major point of emphasis for this team. He was sacked once every 8 times he dropped back and threw the football. And Bill Parcells, not only does he not want turnovers and penalties, but he does not want to see his quarterback taking sacks.
Second down and 15. Blitz coming. Hutchinson gets rid of it and finds his tight end Witten. And Chris, the conspiracy theorists thought, and Bill Parcells kept warning us all, don't read too much into it, that Parcells was setting Quincy Carter up for failure, and he just played well against Houston. I don't think you can make that statement anymore. He let Carter play against Houston. He played well. He gives him the start in this game. He's played well. And Hutchinson clearly is playing catch-up.
Well, if you want to have another conspiracy theory, maybe you let him start the night against this crowd and this defense and didn't know how he would handle it.
He handled it well. Pass is incomplete out of the hand of Hutchinson, intended for Whip, and the Cowboys were lucky they did not get flagged for another hold on that play.
You know, a thing that we hear all the time from defensive players is when you have a quarterback that you know is not mobile, they know where to rush. You know, their stunts and their outside moves, and they can be less disciplined in their rush lanes because they're fairly confident the guy is not going to step up and beat him running the football for 10 yards. And that time we saw the Pittsburgh Steelers throw just about every kind of blitz that they have at that young quarterback.
The punt from going, and Townsend waiting deep. It's into the end zone and coming back to the 20. Steelers get it. They've tied this game. And now there's a penalty flag, so we will stay right here. And just one more point about Hutchinson. I don't think we should expect that people know the story with Chad Hutchinson. He came out of Stanford from '98 to 2001. He was on a Major League Baseball roster with the Cardinals most of the time in the minor leagues. And then he signed a 7-year contract when he gave it up with baseball. And he had been out of the game for a while. And he hadn't played a whole lot of football. They invested a lot of money into this guy, and so far they have not gotten the return they had hoped for.
Joe, I think you're exactly right. And for anybody to expect Chad Hutchinson to come out once he's been laid off from football as long as he had and play well, I think that they were mistaking themselves. He understands.
During the kick. personal foul on the receiving team, number 50, for unnecessary roughness. The kick was a touchback, so the penalty will be assessed from the 20 to the 10-yard line.
Chad understands that he's got a lot of growing to do, but he's been trying to do it with a lot of inferior talent around him, and that makes it extremely difficult on a young quarterback to play well.
Starting from their own 10 after the penalty on Larry Foote. With that, and Foote got a little conversation and face-to-face with his head coach. So the Steelers, instead of starting at their own 20, start at their 10, and from one linebacker to another. Larry Foote, I'm sure after Bill Cowher just had a big old swig of water, got a face-to-face scream session from his head coach. And it's Charlie Batch in at quarterback for Pittsburgh, and it's Bettis who gets the edge. And Jerome Bettis is forced out of bounds after a gain of 8.
And of course, Charlie Batch joining the Pittsburgh Steelers last season, coming from Detroit, was inactive all but one game last season, but this year will be serving as the backup. And of course, it's well documented what happened to him there in Detroit. He feels like he didn't necessarily get a fair shake there at the end of his tenure there, but he came into camp feeling like he could push Tommy Maddox for this starting job.
Second down and 2. Blitz coming from Dallas. Steelers offensive line picks it up, and Jerome Bettis falls forward just shy of a first down by about a yard. And if you look at where they are in the financial structure, Batch is making $2 million to back up a guy making $600,000.
Yeah, in fact, Tommy Maddox was talking about it, and he says, I don't think it's ever happened in the history of football that the backup has been making that much more than the starter. But Charlie Batch said, oh, yes, it has. It happened to me in Detroit. Scott Mitchell was making a lot more than Charlie when Charlie was a starter.
It's 7-7, 2 minutes left. Cris Collinsworth, this is your 2-minute warning. Going Pittsburgh, people want to ask about Terry Bradshaw. They love him here. The Visa halftime is coming up. Terry, what's coming up?
Hey, thanks a lot, boys. Hey, coming up on the Visa halftime report. Woo-wee! JB, me, Terry Bradshaw, Howie, and Jimmy, we're going to break down the first half. We're going to examine the impact of Michael Vick's injury. Woo-wee, that looked like it hurt. And we're going to introduce Jimmy Kimmel's replacement. Boy, I tell you, it's about time they replaced him. All right, here on Fox. Now back to you in the booth.
Thanks, Terry. Our apologies to Conan O'Brien. And what? You're talking about a 4-time Super Bowl winner.
Well, yeah, it's hard to believe that Terry actually was a pretty good-looking guy at one time.
He really was.
That was a great idea you had, Troy, to do that. I thought that was really
Yes, it was, wasn't it? Nice work, fellas.
Hi, Terry.
That's fun.
We miss you out here in Pittsburgh. They miss you out here in Pittsburgh. Sweat pouring off these guys on a humid night. And on 3rd down and 1, it's a toss to Heinz, and he is brought down in the backfield. Great pressure up front by the defensive line for the Dallas Cowboys. And a couple of players got through to make the stop.
Well, one of the guys the Dallas Cowboys feel like they're really missing right now is their nose tackle, Willie Blade. Bill Parcells thought so highly of that guy, and he is a little bit afraid of the lack of depth he has on that defensive line. But, boy, they came up with a big play there on 3rd down.
Greg Ellis, who made the big hit. Blade is one of the guys that they can line up there that has some size. The other guys are a little light. This is Woody Dinsler, and he is brought down. As he got to the 36, a loss of 2 on the return. Iowama made the stop after a 45-yard punt. NFC East overview. Deuce Staley still a no-show. Will Jeremy Shockey's shocking comments distract the G-men? Steve Spurrier turns to Patrick Ramsey. As Lavernius Coles, Chad Morton, and Trung Candidate.
You look at Philadelphia, and without Deuce Staley, just where are they going to be as a team? And some of the players they lost, a lot of people thought they were going to be a better football team, but I like the Giants in that division going into this season.
Here's a good chance for Hutchinson running the 2-minute offense. Cowboys with 3 timeouts, and Hutchinson trying to take a big bite out of the yardage, and he's nearly picked off by Scott. What's wrong over there, Aikman?
Well, no, that's the quarterback coming out at me right there. You know, you give the ball up and you give a guy an opportunity. Granted, that ball was underthrown, and Well, it was a little better actually than what I thought looking at it live. I thought Terry Glenn might have been able to do a better job of going after it, but actually he does a real good job of trying to make a play. If Chad Hutchinson had been able to get that ball out there a little bit further, Terry Glenn probably would have been able to run right by Chad Scott.
I'm going to defend Terry Glenn on that play. He just saved an interception.
2nd down and 10. And a delayed handoff. That's Cason, and he lost yardage. And now it's the Steelers who will spend a timeout. With a minute left, a loss of 1. 3rd down and 11 coming up. What about Washington? I mean, every year they're making a big splash in the free agent market. They really ransack the Jets. They bring a lot of their guys down to Washington. But again, it gets back to young Patrick Ramsey, a quarterback, and the question, how good can they be?
Well, and I think when you look at Washington and what they're trying to do, I think Steve Spurrier, as everyone has said, that he's an outstanding coach. I wonder, though, about his pass protections. I think sometimes in college you're able to get away with some things, and these defensive coordinators in this league do a tremendous job of breaking down pass protections, and I think at times you expose a young quarterback, and I think that could be something that hurts Patrick Ramsey. And then if you're going to try to protect him, then you're doing exactly what Steve Spurrier would prefer not to do, and that's leave people in protection and not get those receivers out in route.
Well, and Spurrier is so used to dealing with young quarterbacks, he probably has lost touch a little bit with the fact that, boy, if you have a 1st or 2nd year quarterback in the National Football League, I mean, they're going to have some brain cramps along the way. So it's going to be a very difficult process. But I want to get back to what you were saying about the Giants. Offensively, there was not a team playing better than the Giants were at the end of last season. I still like Philadelphia.
So you pick Philly over the Giants. 3rd down and 11. Hutchinson looking for somewhere to go with the ball, scrambles and just gets rid of it. Dallas will have to punt.
And Chris, that's a good example right there of what happens when the pocket breaks down. Obviously, Quincy Carter and his ability, we've talked about that, but what has to happen with a guy like Chad Hutchinson when he's in the pocket, much like it was when I played, there's a real premium then on the receivers getting open so that he can drop back, hit his 5th step or his 7th step and get rid of the football. And when that doesn't happen, it really puts the quarterback in a pickle because he doesn't know what to do with the ball, and he doesn't have the escapability to turn a bad play into something good.
But the difference with you is you would have dumped that football out of there and at least gotten something positive out of it. He's trying to create something out of nothing.
This is Hank Poteet after a line drive punt. Good return. Poteet is brought down right at midfield. So great field position for the Steelers, who have 1 timeout remaining and 40 seconds on the clock. And Quincy Carter, we came on the air talking about Carter. In a way, a surprise starter in this game. Moving around, throwing on the run. Had a 13-play drive to get the Cowboys into the end zone on this. The first touchdown of the night to Joey Galloway.
Well, if you look at the things that Bill Parcells feels is important, and that is moving the team and scoring touchdowns, then Quincy Carter was a success tonight. He did that. Don't even worry about what the statistics were. They were good, but that's really not what matters to Bill Parcells. You consider the fact that he did not know he was starting until yesterday. I think he responded very well.
Let me put up the most important number tonight for Quincy Carter, though. 0 turnovers. And with Bill Parcells and this football team, he is not going to do a bunch of crazy stuff with this offense. That is not the strength of his team. This team, if they're going to win this season, are going to have to win with their defense, going to have to win with their special teams, going to have to win without their offense making major mistakes. And Quincy Carter has done that the last couple of weeks.
Larry Nemmers, a referee, started to recite the highwayman, I believe, and at some point said that the Steelers get one of their timeouts back. Pass is incomplete for Lee Mays. So 2 timeouts left and 36 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, and you look at what happened to Dallas on their last offensive possession. Bill Parcells could not be happy with that. They give the ball back to Pittsburgh and give them field position now where they have the ability with time on the clock to get in position to get a field goal on that last defensive possession for Dallas. They continually go man up with these receivers. If they keep it up, they're going to get hurt.
So Charlie Batch now trying to impress. Oh, big hit. That's Corey Ivy coming across, and Corey Ivy is dazed. I mean, he's staggering.
I have been in that position before, and Darren Woodson made that young receiver pay the price. Anytime your quarterback holds the ball for an extra beat on one of those slant routes, which Charlie Batch did on that play, you're looking at a major headache.
And Darren Woodson got fined last year for a helmet-to-helmet hit. This is close once again. He leads with the crown of his helmet. Typically, they will call that if you come in on a defenseless receiver with the crown of your helmet. The only question then would be, did he in fact hit him in the chest and not the helmet? But to me, it looked like it got him right in the headgear.
And if you want to know why they enforce that rule, just look at Ivy right there. Yeah, I don't think there's any question, Troy. It's a good call.
Good call which way?
It's
a good no
what
call?
Troy said is a good call.
Yeah,
that was helmet to helmet.
It looked like it was helmet to helmet.
And here's why it is. I mean, it's just not worth it. We've seen too many devastating injuries over the years, and the one that comes to mind, of course, first and foremost, Darryl Stingley on a play just like that.
And what were we told at the seminar, Chris, that as long as they keep the head up, you can have helmet to helmet as long as you keep the headgear up and lead with your face mask. But invariably, defenders want to lead with the crown.
But not if they're a defensive player.
Batch's arm was hit as he let it go, and that pass will drop harmlessly incomplete. And now with 25 seconds left, it looks like the Steelers will punt it back to Dallas.
A few people in town were trying to stir up a little quarterback controversy between Charlie Batch and Tommy Maddox, but I think that's probably more a product of Charlie Batch being a hometown guy from Homestead, a suburb out here, and there really is no controversy whatsoever. Tommy Maddox is the guy.
Well, and they haven't even played a game yet. I mean, I can't imagine, based on what Tommy Maddox did last year, that there would be anybody suggesting there's a controversy at this time.
Hey, talk radio guys have to get paid too.
You were one of them, Chris. Beautiful punt by Josh Miller. All the way down to the 4. And with 12 seconds remaining, Hutchinson will come out and I would imagine just take a knee, and that'll be it. The NFL returns to Fox on Sunday, September 7th with a doubleheader beginning with America's #1 pregame show. JB, Terry, Howie, and Jimmy get you ready for NFL Kickoff 2003. Then the Rams take on the Giants, and both teams, I think, really look forward to the start of this regular season. The Falcons later head to Dallas, where Bill Parcells officially begins his quest to try to return the Cowboys to glory. That starts on September 7th at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Fox. This game will stay 7-7 as we move to the halftime, and Bill Parcells will walk off, I think, with maybe a few of his questions answered about Quincy Carter, and I would imagine at this point his opinion unchanged about Chad Hutchinson. It's 7 at the half. The Visa halftime show coming up right after these messages and a word from your local Fox station.
Pam Oliver here at Heinz Field. We're tied up at 7-all here with Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. Jerry, you bring in Bill Parcells. A lot of people said, now that's going to be a bad marriage. How's that going in the give and take department?
Well, it's going very well. He's quite an asset for the Dallas Cowboys, and it fit him for what he wanted to do, his passion for the game, and it certainly fit our organization, and consequently it fits me.
Switching gears, Larry Allen. Some people see a player with diminishing skills. You gave him a ton of money last year. How has he rewarded you for that?
Well, we don't see it that way. He got 20 plays in the first half. He'll be out here this second half, and he's still got all that strength. Came in 30 pounds underweight. His bar has been set so high by Larry himself, so he gets frustrated when he gets beat on one play.
The quarterback situation has been quite a drama. What will be the deciding factor, and what did you think of the performances in the first half?
Well, I think Quincy played well, and it was important for him to play well. He does move around, which gives us, against a team like Pittsburgh, it does give you an advantage. On the other hand, Chad is tough, focused, his competition. Both of them are hanging in there real well. I'm anxious to see how it comes out. I don't think anyone knows right now.
That's the truth. Thanks, Jerry. We appreciate you coming down. Let's go back to Joe.
All right, Pam, thanks. Quincy Carter was 8 out of 12 for 67 yards and a touchdown. Touchdown went to Joey Galloway.
And you've got to wonder if Quincy Carter is going back in the game. We just saw a shot of him warming up on the sidelines with Chad with his helmet in his hand. That would be somewhat of a surprise as well.
Right now, it's the Steelers who will start this half with the ball, and they will start with it at their 20. Let me ask you this, Troy. If that is the case, if Quincy Carter is coming back and will start in this third quarter, is the deck stacked, and is it fair with what we've seen, the opportunity given to Chad Hutchinson? I mean, he had hardly a sniff of it.
Well, I think if you only go on what Chad has been able to do in preseason games, because clearly he has not been given a lot of opportunities, but we don't have the advantage of getting to watch them practice and see what's happened on a daily basis. So I would have to believe that both quarterbacks have been given plenty of opportunities to show what they can do.
I can't believe that either one of you are surprised by anything that Bill Parcells has done. I mean, the whole thing from beginning to end has been unconventional, which is Bill Parcells, and I think he is really just going to put his stamp on this football team. And he doesn't care what anybody thinks. He doesn't care what conventional wisdom is. He's just going to do what he thinks is right for the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, and to talk about whether or not ultimately.
Offense number 56, 10-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
Talk about whether or not ultimately either one of us is confused. I'm certainly not. I spent 12 years within this organization. I know how chaotic some things can get with some of the decision-making that has gone on in the past. I think things have been cleaned up in that area with Bill Parcells.
But I'll give Jerry Jones a little credit, and I've dinged Jerry in the past for different things that he's done. His ability to step back just a little bit has allowed Bill Parcells to put his stamp on this team, and I think that's something that had to be done for the Cowboys.
It is 1st and 20 after a hold, and that's Batch firing out of the reach of his receiver Lee Mays. And we look at the numbers at the half, and if the Cowboys guys need to run the football to take some of the pressure off the quarterback position, just a wretched first half trying to run against the Steeler defense.
Well, it was, yes. They were not very effective running the football. That has got to be a staple of this offense if they're going to have success. But what I really like is what Pittsburgh did offensively. They wanted to come into this game and really use it as a dress rehearsal and get the passing game going as much as anything. Tommy Maddox and that receiving crew were able to do that.
It's 2nd down and 20. Batch buying time, goes to his outlet receiver, and that's Heinz. And Heinz is wrapped up and dropped immediately by Donald Mitchell.
You know, though, Joe, I think that the Cowboys and Bill Parcells saw a little bit of what they wanted to see out of the running game last week in that game. Troy Hambrick had a terrific game there. And I believe what he was looking for in this ball game was trying to assess those quarterbacks. So you probably saw Quincy Carter throwing the ball a little bit more in this one than what he's going to be doing on opening day.
It's 3rd down and 18. The Dallas offense last year averaged over 109 yards on the ground in the 20s in the first half. That's Heinz. He's been busy. He gets it out to the 21, a gain of 9, and it's time for Pittsburgh to punt. And somebody's screaming down there.
Well, you know, the only thing for the Dallas Cowboys that I don't think they've seen the improvement on tonight that they had hoped for was the pass rush. This is a team that just simply has to get more pressure on the quarterback than what they have in the past. And I think for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's a great sign that this offensive line has struggled. All of a sudden now is starting to look pretty good now that they have their regulars back in there.
Zuriel Smith will get away. Smith is a guy that might make this Dallas team as a punt returner, but he stayed away on that line drive punt from Miller. Cowboys get it. We're tied at 7.
This Fox NFL special is brought to you by Visa. If you love the NFL, it's everywhere you want to be.
Welcome back to Pittsburgh. It's a 7-7 game, and now the Cowboys have it. The ball at their own 27, working on this Pittsburgh defense. Year after year, Tim Lewis does a terrific job coordinating the defense for Bill Cowher. They were 7th overall last year, but in the playoffs gave up an awful lot of yards through the air. Kelly Holcomb just lighting up the secondary in that 36-33 win, throwing for over 400 yards. And what happened was they ended up dumping Lee Flowers, who ends up in Denver. They draft Troy Polamalu, and he's in the ball game right now. The deal with him, though, is he was a tremendous run stuffer at USC. Some question his pass coverage abilities. Yet, in order to bolster their secondary, they draft him as the strong safety. 2nd down and 8. Pass is complete. That's the tight end McGee. And a penalty flag at the very end of the play. 13-yard catch and run, and we will check the marker. Foot was over there defending for the Steelers.
Well, and you talk about Troy Polamalu, their 1st-round pick, and what he's capable of doing.
Personal foul. Number 24 defense. Using the helmet to tackle 15 yards from the end of the run. 1st down.
He better be able to do it all. The Pittsburgh Steelers moved up 11 spots in the draft to get him. They gave up their 1st, 3rd, and 6th-round picks in this year's draft. And, you know, Polamalu, they think that what they needed in the secondary was some speed. And they didn't feel that they were getting that with Lee Flowers last year. They allowed him to leave. They draft Troy. And now they think that they've got the missing piece in that secondary. Other than the safety position, they feel very confident about their secondary.
This is Adrian Morrell, who has been dusted off and is trying to make this team as one of the running backs. Morrell has already played for Parcells. He did so with the Jets in '97. He hasn't been in the NFL since the year 2000.
Well, I think when they brought in Adrian Morrell that they felt that he may be able to push Troy Hambrick at the running back position, because basically Troy Hambrick was going to be the starter by default. There was nobody else in that roster that could be a 1st and 2nd down runner. Adrian Morrell was brought in, and I'm not so sure that he's in shape and ready to carry any of that burden either.
2nd down and 6. That's Morrell again, picking his way and picking up 3.
How long has Morrell been out of the game?
2 years.
2000.
How long have you been out?
Seems like a lifetime working with you guys.
But are you still leaving the door open? Or are you?
No, the door
is shut finally.
Don't get mad.
Shut.
Don't get mad.
No, I'm not.
You're testy.
Oh, come on.
I just brought it up.
Hey, we're all family here.
We are.
Right?
You had another recruiting trip last night with Parcells. He was rolling out the red carpet for you. I'm just wondering, you know, Morrell's making a little comeback. I just wasn't sure.
3rd down and 3, and Hutchinson completes it, but shy of 1st down yardage. The catch made by Jamar Martin, the fullback.
All right, let's go for it. Let's go for it here, Bill Parcells. Give that young quarterback a shot here.
Yeah, I think you're right, Chris. Right now, with what's happened, nothing really good has happened so far for Chad Hutchinson, and so down here it doesn't do a whole lot of good to punt the ball anyway. It's out of range to try for a field goal. The obvious choice is to go for it.
Did you see Troy get flushed, though, and get a little
color in his face?
Color when Bill Parcells was asking him about his throwing skills?
Well, Joe, I felt like I was being challenged as to whether or not I could still throw a 10-yard out, and I don't think my skills have eroded quite that badly.
He could have said 20-yard or a 15-yard or something a little more.
Well, he could have flattered me a little bit, too, but I don't think it's quite his style.
No, it's not. Hutchinson will tell you that. So will Larry Allen.
This telecast is copyrighted by the NFL for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or of any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the NFL's consent is prohibited.
Steelers looking for their first win of the preseason. It's 4th down and 1 for Dallas, and this crowd climbs into it. That's Adrian Morrell, and he picks up the 1st down and plenty more. Knocked out of bounds at the 24-yard line, a gain of 10 on 4th and 1.
Pretty impressive for a guy that's been out of football for a couple of years now. It's not like he's some slouch, though. This is a guy that had 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons in his career, and it looks like he's out to try and prove something on that play. A pretty run.
Those years were 96 to 98. Last played in 2000. 1st down for Dallas, trying to regain the lead. Pump fake by Hutchinson and dumps it over the middle to Morrell. And he is hit and dropped immediately.
Were you a little surprised, Troy, that they didn't put the ball in the hands of Hutchinson on that 4th and 1? And I mean, if really the big test here is to evaluate your quarterback. We saw with Quincy Carter down on the goal line, they let him throw it. I really was expecting a pass on that play.
Is that right? No, I wasn't, Chris, and primarily because of the type of coach that Bill Parcells is. He wants to be able to rely on that big offensive line that when they need a yard and they have to have it, that he can hand the ball off and that they can go pick it up. And I thought they would do about what they did.
Yeah, they still have to prove they can run the ball. Not just Hutchinson, who is flush and gets rid of it. Well outside the pocket and able to do so. James Harrison had pressure.
Well, it's a good thing that that was Harrison and not a guy like Joey Porter or Kendrell Bell, because I'm not sure Hutchinson would have had the same escape route against those guys.
Well, they just bring too many that you can pick up. Avian Kaysen in there picks up one of the blitzers, and then that leaves one free. And Cowboys not doing a real good job of seeing those blitzes and knowing where to go with the football. There's a good shot of Kendrell Bell, and he's expecting a lot of big things from himself in this defensive football team this season.
Bell dinged his knee in the first half. Doesn't appear to be serious. And with movement across the line of scrimmage, it was the left defensive end and it was the left tackle spot that moved two guys on opposite ends of the line, and we'll see who drew the penalty.
Defense, number 93, offside, unabated to the quarterback. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
You know, another player we're talking about is Alonzo Jackson, who was Pittsburgh's 2nd-round pick this season out of Florida State, and he was a defensive end at Florida State, and he's having to learn a new position. They have moved him to linebacker. Granted, they are allowing him at times to get on the end of the line and still rush the passer, but for the most part, he has done that from a 2-point stance.
That's Kaysen. Penalty flag on the play. Kaysen is dragged down at the 10 from behind. It's Chris Hope who made the stop after a gain of 6, but this flag is against the Cowboys. Hope is another guy, Chris Hope, who could find his name.
Holding. Offense number 75. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, 3rd down.
They got Ryan Young, who was picked up this year as an unrestricted free agent from Houston. And then for Dallas, the question is, where are the plays coming from? Who's calling the plays? And it's Parcells who has the dominant influence. But obviously it's Peyton who's the one calling the plays.
Well, Peyton is the one who is calling them to the quarterback. But Bill Parcells has said that he will call the plays most of the time. He will take information from Mo Carthon in the running game, along with Sean Payton in the passing game. But he, in fact, is calling these plays. It's just Sean Payton relaying that to the quarterback.
3rd down and 12. Pass is over the middle and caught. A 1st down for Dallas. Terry Glenn. So Parcells is keeping a lot of the first stringers in the lineup around Hutchinson.
Yeah, and one of the surprises this year is when Bill Parcells decided to keep Flozell Adams, but he's got him playing very well. Right here, Flozell is going up again against the rookie Alonzo Jackson and does a nice job. One of the criticisms of of Flozell is that at times he has a tendency to get very high when he's blocking people, but Bill Parcells has been able to make a player out of him so far in this preseason.
On 1st down, that's Morrell. Play was designed to go right. He came back left in game 2.
I'll tell you what, though, that was a huge throw that time by Chad Hutchinson. The other guy we haven't talked much about tonight for the Dallas Cowboys is Terry Glenn, stepping in now, and he's a guy that he and Bill Parcells have been through quite a bit together with the New England Patriots, but there's no question Glenn's a great talent. With the Green Bay Packers a season ago, they essentially let him walk out of there. But we saw him a season ago make some great plays, but you also see out of Terry Glenn, on occasion, not stick his head in there, not be tough, not make the big play when it really counts, and that's been the knock.
Hutchinson with time over the middle. The throw is caught by Galloway, and he's brought down at the 3. It's an 11-play drive to this point. It was a 13-play drive put together by Carter back in the 2nd quarter.
Well, and I think it's worth noting that the Cowboys still have all of their starters in the game. They want Chad Hutchinson to have an opportunity to have success and be able to compete. But on the other side of the ball with Pittsburgh, for the most part, all of their reserves are in. So a little bit unfair as far as the level of talent that this offense for Dallas is going against Pittsburgh.
But this is by far the best that Hutchinson has looked this preseason.
They're going to have to hurry. 4, 3, 2 on the play clock. 1 just got it away. And the handoff is to Morrell, and he is into the end zone for a touchdown. How must that feel for a guy who hasn't been in an NFL game, preseason or regular season, since 2000, and a 12-play drive put together by Hutchinson?
Well, and I can tell you this, that regardless of who's playing for Pittsburgh, Bill Cowher is not happy about this. One of the things that Pittsburgh has always prided themselves on is the ability to stop the run game. And right there, you've got guys coming up and have the ability to stop Morrell short of the touchdown, and they're not able to do it.
Cundiff knocks it through, and it's a 14-7 Dallas lead. In the rushing department, Hambrick, 3 carries for -1 yards. Morrell is trying to throw his name in the hat for Dallas. Adrian Morrell into the end zone from 3 yards out. Charlie Batch will get his chance to answer what the Cowboys and Chad Hutchinson just did. Hutchinson helping out his cause and strengthening his case with an impressive 12-play drive. 58,099 backed into Heinz Field. This is Lee Mays. And a strong tackle by the Dallas Cowboys. That was Marcus Steele, who almost flipped Lee Mays. 23-yard return. And Mays ended up on his headgear at the end of this.
This Fox NFL special is brought to you by DirecTV, movies, music, and exclusive sports from the leader in digital satellite entertainment, and by Whitney's Classic Hamburgers. It's better here.
From our Fox Fly Cam, Lee Mays, Marcus Steele, and up and over. So the ball is at the 28. What's that?
The Fox Fly Cam, is that what you're calling it?
I myself did not come up with that. Charlie Batch hands off to Haynes, who runs left, and with the bus out of the lineup, he stops by with Pam Oliver. Pam?
Thanks a lot, Joe. Jerome picked up the paper and said kicked in the gut. Does that pretty much describe how you felt after your meeting with Bill?
Yeah, it was tough. It was a hard pill to swallow, but you know, like I said, I've been on the good side of a lot of his gut decisions, and you know, unfortunately, this is the first time it went against me. But you know, I still strong when it's positive. You got to stand strong when it's negative.
What's your mindset, given whatever opportunities you get to play? Do you try to make him rethink that decision?
Oh, you have to. You got to seize the opportunity. I mean, as a backup, you have to look at being a starter, and so you got to go out and every play, you know, try to impress.
All right, we appreciate you stopping by with us, and good luck during the season.
Thanks.
Let's go back to Joe.
All right, Pam. Nice play by Greg Ellis to get his hands up and knock down that Charlie Batch throw. And we are looking still at the Dallas #1 defense taking on a lot of the backups for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that, really. Bill Parcells is wanting his team to learn how to win. And I think he feels like playing his starters longer is going to give him an opportunity to experience that.
3rd down and 3, and the pass is caught. Antoine Randall L over the middle, a gain of 6.
Plus, they're going to want to experiment a little bit out there. You saw that time Roy Williams, the outstanding young safety for the Cowboys, coming on the blitz. It's like Derek Ross coming up a little gimpy on that one as well. But this is a football team that needs more work. Troy, I mean, there's really no other way to say it. And if they're going to be any good this year, this defense is going to have to go from being a pretty good defense to a dominant defense, because Bill Parcells is not going to uncork that offense. They're not going to lose the game on the offensive side of the ball. And if they're going to play that way on offense, the defense has to win the game.
1st down for Pittsburgh. And a throw to Antoine Randall L. And a nice play by Woodson. Darren Woodson, the 12-year pro from Arizona State, playing deep into this game on a humid night, and he covered a lot of ground to make that tackle.
Yeah, and Darren Woodson's role has changed this year as well with Bill Parcells coming in, and it probably would have changed anyway. With the addition of Roy Williams, it allows Darren Woodson to play back in the middle of the field at safety more so than what he was ever able to do in the past. Before, he was the guy who forced the run and blitzed, and they really believe that it will extend his career a few more years.
No penalty flags at the start of the play as Heinz gets the carry. Steelers trying to turn Heinz into their third down back. Carried on second down and picked up 3.
You know, it was interesting, though, talking about Darren Woodson. Here's a veteran guy, one of the great players of all time with the Cowboys, leading all-time tackler. And Parcells' needle got him a few times during training camp, too. He said, you know, Woodson, you're getting older. Don't think you're just paycheck is going to automatically come to you. Don't take that for granted. Next day, Darren Woodson came out with a piece of tape with his name on the helmet, just like the rookies had.
3:48 and counting left in the third quarter. On third down, blitz coming, and the pass is out incomplete. What a throw by Batch as Chris Doring makes his first catch of the evening, a gain of 14.
This is just a great job by Charlie Batch, hanging in the pocket, knowing he's going to get hit, waiting for his receiver to get open, and delivering the football on target for a big gain. I can't tell you how difficult that is and the courage that it takes for a quarterback to just hang in there knowing you're going to get a helmet right underneath the chin strap, and doing it because it's what has to be done in order to get the ball out and complete it.
Pretty good catch by the old Florida Gator Chris Doring as well. Come on now, give him a little love.
Heinz loses yardage on that first down carry. Loss of 2. Let's talk baseball for a second. This week on Fox Saturday Baseball, the Phillies and Cardinals go head-to-head. Or the AL West leading Mariners visit Fenway to battle the Red Sox. And the Red Sox trying to hang on in that wild card battle with Oakland. All 4 teams fight for their playoff lives. Do the Cubs square off against the Diamondbacks? The Marlins take on the Giants. Really all good games. That is this Saturday, this week in baseball, starting at 12:30 Eastern and Pacific right here on Fox. I know you guys haven't had a chance to get inside PNC Park, but it is beautiful. Opening up to downtown Pittsburgh, they have a walking bridge across the river, and I said it earlier and I'll say it again, whether it's PNC Park or Heinz Field, the city of Pittsburgh and the state of Pennsylvania, they have combined to put 2 first-class facilities in this city.
Well, sports so much a part of the fabric here, especially these Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll never forget coming in. We played them every year with the Cincinnati Bengals, and they lined the road when you came in here and throwing stuff at you and shouting stuff. I think I was more afraid of them than I was the Steelers.
Third down and 12. Batch, penalty flag on the play in the area of the hold. Now another one comes flying in as Batch is forced out of bounds by Wynn, short of first down yardage. And it's a hold against the Steelers. Steelers have done a good job of taking their home crowd out of the game. I don't know if that was one of their objectives for the night.
Well, they have a lot of goals coming into a game.
58,000 people have never been.
Offensive holding, number 78. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, third down.
McQuinte is guilty of the hold.
Pretty interesting decision there by Bill Parcells as well. Would have been 4th down and about 5 or 6. And at best, a 53, 54-yard field goal, and yet he makes the decision he's going to take the yardage and back him up. Boy, if you have any conversations at all with Bill Parcells, field position, you know, punting and all that kind of stuff usually comes right to the forefront within minutes.
No question, he's old school in his beliefs.
Third down and 22. And movement along the line prior to the snap, and you could hear also some audio.
Prior to the snap, false start offense, number 82. 5-yard penalty, still third down.
I'll guess, guys, that it was a member of the secondary trying to remind Dat Wynn to watch out for the screen. And now on 3rd and 27, that's also in the hopper as a possibility of a play just to try to get some of the yardage back.
Well, Bill Cowher's got his game face on already.
just think he's ticked.
You think?
I think you're right.
3rd down and 27. Pressure up front, and Batch is sacked all the way back inside the 25. Loss of 16 on the play.
How do you think Bill Cowher feels now?
Bagu is the guy who ends up with the sack, and he's had pressure this entire series.
Yeah, each time they've dropped back to throw the ball, Bagu's gotten back there and gotten pressure on him. And, you know, right there, somehow you have got to be able to get outside the tackle box and just unload that football.
4th and 43. A horrendous punt.
Couldn't even punt it for a 1st down.
Josh Miller, that thing came backward, and it was Bill Cowher who stuck his hand out and basically downed it. 28-yard punt, and there isn't much going right. So Cowher says, guys, if you're not going to do it, just get this football out of here.
He's an ineligible player. He was on the field.
He doesn't care. 3 times these two organizations have met in the Super Bowl. 2 times the Pittsburgh Steelers have won. We look at what we expect to see in the North. Tim Couch loses the quarterback battle to Kelly Holcomb. Ravens' Ray Lewis is back at full strength. And Marvin Lewis is trying to restore the roar in Cincinnati and make all ex-Bengals proud of Carson Palmer in the new 2003 Cincinnati Bengals.
So, of course, they put on a low light from Carson Palmer there. That was not fair. I went down and watched him play in person the other night, and he was fantastic. He was 7 for 7 in the game, had 2 drives of over 70 yards, 2 touchdown passes. I think it's just a matter of time they're going to turn it all the way around.
Really? From their own 45, Hutchinson over the middle, right into the arms of Prewalt. And Clint, a lot of times, and Troy, you know this better than I do, linebackers almost become surprised to get a ball thrown at them like that. They usually have to reach for it or whatever. This thing hit him right in the gut.
Well, they're not usually the intended target. Yeah, so when they get one that easy, as you're going to see, when they get one right in the chest, it's hard. Boom, right there.
I don't know.
There's a reason these guys are playing linebacker. Otherwise, it'd be tight end.
I think he was the intended target on that one.
2nd down and 10. This is Michael Wiley, his first carry. And he goes backward about half a yard.
You know, when you talk about Cincinnati, Chris, and Carson Palmer and Marvin Lewis, and I like what they're doing. I mean, hopefully right now for these Cincinnati fans that have waited, you know, you say wait a little bit. They didn't wait a long time. I think that Marvin Lewis is going to be the right guy for that job, and I really believe that Carson Palmer is going to buck the trend that Cincinnati has had and be a quarterback that's going to be playing for them at a very high level for a long time.
I tell you, he was slick the other night, looking off the defenders, getting the defense to move one way, throwing back, did a great job.
Could be the final play of the 3rd quarter, and Hutchinson has it knocked out of his hands. Has had trouble holding on to the football, and it's recovered by the Steelers.
Well, Joe.
Oh, now Larry Nemmers reverses course.
I don't know when Bill Parcells is going to make the announcement as far as who the starting quarterback is, but if it is not Chad Hutchinson, I would point to this play right here and say this is the reason why Chad Hutchinson is not the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. He has had problem after problem hanging on to the football. He fumbled the ball and lost it 8 times last season, and he has done that already twice here in the preseason this year.
It was Alonzo Jackson that knocked it out of his hands. First, Larry Nemmers said the Steelers recovered. The crowd got excited. Hutchinson said, wait a minute, I got the ball, but now he has to hear it from Parcells, and the Cowboys in the 4th quarter will have to punt. Armstead waiting for the punt from Goen, and it's Armstead from about the 18. Good coverage downfield. Good coverage downfield, and the tackle made by Sanchez. And we look at the education of a young quarterback. After Hutchinson dropped the ball, he had it knocked out of his hands by Alonzo Jackson, but then this discussion.
And I think what Bill Parcells is saying is you shouldn't have been holding the football that long. And then Hutchinson comes back and says, they're playing cover 2, Coach. You see the 2 safeties back here? That's what he's saying. I see the cover 2, and that's why I didn't throw it down the middle of the field. Plus, my receiver got tackled right there.
Dante Brown is in the backfield for Pittsburgh as Batchel started with a throw. Dallas still leading by 7, and Lee Mays on the reception, a gain of 9.
The point that I would make on that is that as a quarterback, coaches do not buy into the fact that, hey, there was nobody open, therefore I had to hang on to the ball. You are responsible for protecting the football, and they don't care if 4 guys hit you right in the head. The ball is not expected to come out, and that's been something that's been emphasized to Chad over and over this preseason.
2nd down and 1. This is Dante Brown, and he has a first down for the Steelers.
Well, that wasn't exactly a classic Phil Simms moment, you know, where it ends up where it looks like they're going to go at it. It looked like at the end of it, Parcells kind of said, okay, well, I know what he said. Okay, we're going to see it on the film. You better be right. I guarantee you that was the closing comment.
Well, let me tell you, Chad Hutchinson better get a few more skins on the wall before he starts challenging Bill like Phil Simms did.
It's a first down for the Steelers, who trail by 7. Batch fires, and it is nearly picked off. Sanchez had it in his gut as he moved in front of Doring, and would have had a walk into the end zone.
Well, you're out there battling for a job, and you let one go like this. This easily could have been a touchdown the other way. That might be your bus ticket home right there.
So you have now cut Jeff Sanchez, Chris.
Well, I like to help the coaches all I can.
That's kind of you.
Well, the first cuts are coming up next week.
And the decision for Bill Parcells as to who his quarterback is going to be, he wants to make after this game. It was supposed to have been made going into this game. That was the plan going into the preseason. And one of the reasons why it's so important that they do it, Troy, and I know you can't wait to circle the middle section of Wes Hours, Chris. So just hold on a second.
I would never do that.
He's wearing number 42, and he has the ability. He's an eligible guy to carry the ball and catch a ball out of the backfield, but that is a guard in a running back's number.
That was a guard eligible on that play.
Well, they say a slow tight end is a fast guard, or in this case, maybe a fast fullback.
You know what? Just forget what I was going to say earlier.
What were you going to say?
Fine, you'll never know. 3rd down and 5. He's going to get on the Bengals bandwagon. Penalty flag with a completion to Brian Robinson. First down yardage, but we will check the marker, and this looks like it's coming back. Maybe not. It's against Dallas. So Robinson with a catch. It was good enough for a first down. The ball is at the Pittsburgh 41.
Illegal hands to the face on the defense, number 67. Penalty is declined. First down.
So a first down for Pittsburgh. Just quickly, what I was going to say was the two styles of the two quarterbacks are so different. Quincy Carter and Chad Hutchinson. You know that Parcells wants to go into that final preseason game with his starter named, whether it's one guy or the other. This is Dante Brown running right and forced out of bounds back at the line of scrimmage.
You know what I wish? Living in Dallas, I wish he'd pick somebody.
Because you're just tired of it.
Well, I'm just, yeah, I am. I mean, as a fan, you just get tired of hearing about who's going to be playing quarterback. And, you know, clearly he's going to have to make that decision pretty soon. And I would have to believe that he entered this game with a pretty good idea as to who it was going to be. And I would imagine that he would be naming a guy sometime next week.
It's not like they're deciding between Roger Staubach and Danny White either. I mean, I don't know that it really makes that big a difference from the standpoint that neither one of those guys are really going to be relied upon to win games for the Cowboys.
Brown on 2nd down and 11 is upended by Tony Dixon. A strong safety coming up to make the tackle. But if he came in and he says, in the back of my mind, Parcells, I'm leaning toward one guy. The way that he has coached these last two games with Carter playing the entire first half last week getting the start tonight. He didn't disappoint. He didn't turn it over. He got him down the field and into the end zone. 13-play drive. What would have happened in this game that would have changed that?
If, in fact, it was an open competition, Quincy Carter will be the starter.
3rd down and 7. And Robinson is tangled up. No penalty flag on the play. Terrence Newman was there on the coverage.
I did ask that question of some of the powers that be down on the field before the game, and my question was, is the winner of the competition in this game tonight necessarily the quarterback, or could you go off the board and just go with the gut level decision? And the answer was absolutely. Whoever plays the best tonight is not automatically the quarterback.
Glenn McCoolick is punting, and a high-hanging punt with Zuriel Smith waiting for it. And Smith will down it at the 21 after a 35-yard punt. Cowboys get it back, and they lead by 7.
This Fox NFL special is brought to you by the new fire-grilled chicken Caesar Club at Burger King, the salad in a sandwich, and by Miller Lite. Tell it over a great-tasting, less-filling Miller Lite. It's Miller time.
That picture of Old Glory letting us know that that breeze that was coming through this stadium earlier in the game has died down. It is a humid night. Dallas leads by 7, and Hutchinson is back to work. Starting from their own 21, play action. And the pass is incomplete. Williams, the intended receiver. One thing before we move on in this game, all of us want to wish Fred Aldis, who's our audio mixer, and Fred's mother, Drew, luck tomorrow. Drew is having bypass surgery in the morning. And for you, Mr. Aldis, who takes care of us week in and week out, our thoughts and prayers are with you and Drew and the entire family. Watching out west, Jeff Cohen doing a great job filling in. This is Wiley over the right side, brought down just shy of the 25. Gain of 4.
You know, this Pittsburgh Steelers defense, there was a lot made out of what they were able to do and what they weren't able to do a season ago. And the teams that really gouged them were the teams that came in here and spread out their offense and forced their safeties to cover. And I think that was a big reason why they made some of the changes in the secondary that they did. But they started the year giving up over 700 yards passing to Tom Brady and Rich Gannon, and finished the year with Kelly Holcomb and Steve McNair lighting them up. So those answers have to be found out here in the preseason.
It's 3rd down and 6. Hutchinson buys time and now does well to get it to Rambo for a Dallas 1st down. That's one of the best efforts of the night by Chad Hutchinson.
You know, Chris, you're right. Those are questions that have to be answered with this team in the secondary, and how teams have been able to come in here and throw the ball against them towards the end of last season. The last 3 teams they played scored over 30 points, and yet talking with Bill Cowher yesterday, that is not a concern of his. He said, I would be much more concerned if we were having to address our run defense, because then teams are questioning your toughness. He says, we're a tough team, and we'll be fine in that area of the game.
A blitz on 1st down by the Steeler defense, and Wiley bounces it outside for a gain of 4.
You know, and I agree with that theory that if you can't stop the run, you're dead. I mean, and the Steelers are the best team in football in stopping the run, so they can certainly do that. But when you begin to get those spread offenses on the field, it also takes the Steelers out of a little bit of what they do best. And you start taking some of those linebackers off the field. You don't get the pass rush and the blitzing and some of the things that this team can do so well.
2nd down and 6, and Hutchinson lost it under center, got it back, and now throws it away.
To me, the thing that is really surprising about the fact that teams were able to spread them out and have success is the fact that they do appear to be a team with a lot of depth in the secondary. They've got good corners in Dwayne Washington and Chad Scott. Of course, Deshae Townsend, he's a guy who can come in. And then at safety, now you bring in Troy Polamalu, and he's a guy that can add a lot to the secondary, along with Mike Logan and Brent Alexander. So what I'm saying is that it is somewhat puzzling that teams had the success that they had last year throwing the ball against them.
On 3rd down and 6, Hutchinson fires, and the pass incomplete. Williams, the intended receiver, and there was tremendous coverage by Ike Taylor.
Yeah,
He was stride for stride.
Yeah, I agree that this is a better secondary this year. They had some injuries, Mike Logan with the knee injury last year, and they certainly didn't have the speed in the secondary that they have right now. But it is still a concern because the North Division that used to be the Central Division was a division that was a lot of power. You know, it was Tennessee and Cincinnati and Cleveland, and it wasn't a real flashy division. And now all of a sudden you look around and teams are starting to open that up, and the Steelers are reacting to it. I'm not sure they were prepared a season ago, though.
Out to the 29 is Armstead. One question for you guys. That last 3rd down throw by Hutchinson, did he get rid of it? He wasn't standing around with the ball. He threw it into the back of the cornerback. Atta baby. Parcells is sinking in. It's 14-7 Dallas. Who do you like in the West? 14-7 Dallas here. San Francisco won the division a year ago. St. Louis 7-9, but the Rams have to be thrilled with how they played that Monday night game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their defense is fast. They're happy with the play of the linebackers. Kurt Warner was perfect, 7 for 7. Bulger was good again. They are very optimistic that they can get back into Rams form in St. Louis, and Seattle has to be considered a threat in that division. This is Brian St. Pierre, and his first throw is complete to Doring, who's forced out of bounds at the 45 with a 1st down.
I think you're right, Joe. You look at St. Louis and what they expect from their team, and they sure did look awfully good last week against Tampa Bay, a good defensive team in Tampa Bay. And Kurt Warner seems, at least for now, to have eliminated any concern as far as his health's concerned and what he can do throwing the ball. And then you look at San Francisco, Chris, and some of the changes that they're going through, and you wonder how they're going to be able to react to some of that.
Yeah, and all the injuries that they've incurred so far this preseason. But the good news is Jeff Garcia, because we have a little juggling act going on in the field. Jeff Garcia apparently is okay, at least for now, with that back injury, because I'll tell you what, that's the one injury that they just could not afford to have. Jeff Garcia is so much a part of that football team, but I agree with Seattle Seahawks with what Joe said. The way that team finished offensively a season ago, just very exciting. Looked like Mike Holmgren's offenses that he had in San Francisco and Green Bay, and they're finally starting to get it going. Then, of course, Ray Rhodes comes in as the defensive coordinator, and he has a long history with Mike Holmgren in San Francisco. Might be a little magic this year up in Seattle.
2nd down and 20 for St. Pierre. Plenty of time, good protection, and the pass is complete. That's Chris Doring again, and let's go down to the field and check in again with Pam Oliver.
Thanks, Joe. Here with Tommy Maddox. We all know about the great job you did last season, Tommy. What's the key for you now that expectations are pretty high?
Well, you know, I put a lot of expectations on myself, and you can't really worry about all the others. But you just go out there and try to work as hard as you can and get the job done. And, you know, it's all about winning. However you got to get it done, that's what we've got to do. And it's exciting. We're all ready for the season to hurry up and get here.
Was it disappointing for you that the Steelers kind of took a wait-and-see attitude about you as far as that contract is concerned?
You know, I have gone through way too much to get to this point and start worrying about that. You know, I'm just excited to be here, excited to be playing in Pittsburgh and having fun.
Okay, as we watch this play, let me ask you something else. As far as the offense goes, the Steelers football is defense and power running, but your personnel seems to be dictating a different approach.
Well, we're still going to run the football. I think if we can have balance on offense and keep the defense guessing out there, then we're going to be more successful. So we're still going to run the football and have success doing that.
All right, thank you, Tom.
Thank you. I'd just like to say hi to the Chabet family at home. They lost a loved one 2 days ago, and they're in our thoughts and prayers.
Really appreciate that. Thanks, Tommy. Back to you, Joe.
All right, Pam, thank you. Nice completion and run by Haynes to pick up the 1st down. 21-yard play, and now St. Pierre is buying time. And throws it out of bounds. There was a hit by Weatherington. And that will draw the flag in the ire of Bill Parcells.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Number 95. Pushing him down. After he threw the pass. 15, 1st down.
You want me to cut another guy?
Boy, I mean, he is just going to be fired up after that.
Yeah, well, what did Leroy Glover tell us last night when we were talking with him? He was talking about what Bill Parcells accepts, what he won't accept. He said the one penalty that he will absolutely not tolerate is a personal conduct penalty, personal foul penalty like this. And, you know, that's not much. I mean, you feel bad for the guy because he didn't really put a big hit on the guy, but you can tell Bill Parcells is not happy with that at all. And they got to know the rules. You come in and you get your hands on the helmet of the quarterback, they're going to call the flag.
And really, but for that, it wasn't much. But when he did that last little shove against the helmet, they're going to protect the quarterbacks in this league.
Brings the ball all the way to the 27-yard line for the Steelers, who trail by 7. St. Pierre trying to get Pittsburgh into the end zone to tie it. Floats it for Doring. And penalty flags on the play.
Pass interference on somebody against the Steelers.
Offensive pass interference. Number 48. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
They're going to get Matt Cushing, one of the backup tight ends, on this foul. And I think, guys, it's easy to overlook the consistent job that Bill Cowher does here in Pittsburgh. I mean, this is his 12th season. Been here for 11. He's won 7 division titles. Been to 4 AFC championship games. He's had a Super Bowl appearance. You were a part of that.
Well, Troy ruined that.
And a lot of those times he has started seasons out very slowly, and yet he's been able to regroup the team and make strong finishes down the stretch. And yeah, I think that what he's accomplished goes unnoticed far too often.
Only 46 years old. Longest tenured coach with one team. That's a dump-off play to Dante Brown, and it is well covered by the Dallas Cowboys.
And when you consider that he has won 7 out of 11 division titles, 7 out of 11, you go back through the history of the National Football League, the percentage of wins in that division out better than anybody else in the history of football. You can go to Don Shula, you can go to Tom Landry, Chuck Noll, anybody. 7 out of 11 division championships. Nobody has done that in the history of this league.
Bengals have been in that division.
I hate you.
Second down and 21. That pass is complete. That's Cushing. And it'll be 3rd down and long for St. Pierre. Now, just in case my 7-year-old daughter Natalie's watching this game, you didn't mean that.
I really don't. Natalie, I love the guy. I'm going to go to dinner with him, and he's going to pick up the tab for that comment.
Your daughter stays up late, huh? And she watches football.
It's 9:47. It's not crazy back in St. Louis. But, yeah, she stays up late.
She's a football fan or she's a dad fan?
She is much more a football fan.
Yeah.
Than Dad has anything to do with it. 3rd down and 16. And St. Pierre fires, completes it. Very close to first down yardage to Doring.
Tell you, and Brian St. Pierre, he's showing some real poise back there in the pocket. And I know Mike Mularkey certainly likes him. He said he's as good a young quarterback as he has coached. And boy, he throws just an absolute strike right there to Chris Doring. And
yeah, he actually said he was the best rookie quarterback he's ever coached, and that included Trent Dilfer when Mike was down with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
1 yard shy of a first down, so it's 4th down, and the Steelers down by 7. We'll see what St. Pierre can do. There's that big fullback, and wide open is the hole, and a touchdown for Dante Brown. Fourth down and 1, and an 18-yard run by Dante Brown, who can fly 4.40, a lot of speed, and he showed it here. And there's your guy Wes Hours, the fullback, throwing a block.
And Kedrick Vincent also in there on the pull, kicking out. And now you're going to see preseason football at its finest, something you wouldn't see during the regular season. But Bill Cowher now going to go for 2 in the win.
Steelers converted on 5 two-point conversions last season, most in the NFL. And they're going to spend a timeout. Each side has 2 timeouts left. And trying to take the lead and avoid overtime one way or the other are the Steelers. Dante Brown from Memphis, the rookie, free agent. They like him here in Pittsburgh. The Steelers are looking for their first win of the preseason, going for 2 here, down by 1, and that's head linesman Dale Williams, who I think represents many, many people involved in tonight's game, thanking Bill Cowher for going for 2 instead of the easy tie.
And every player on that roster for Pittsburgh should go over and shake his hand, too, for not kicking the extra point, possibly sending this thing into overtime.
Cowher still smiling about that. So, again, this was a team that went for this and made it 5 times last season. Heinz Ward majority of the time, but he's long gone in this game. Wide open is the fullback, Wes Howard.
There he is.
15-14 Steelers.
Who says big men can't catch?
284 pounds of athletic beauty. Wes Howard with the play of the night.
I got him at 297.
He has given every big man in the league hope. And he was wide open.
You can't hope to defend that.
St. Pierre gets the Steelers down the field and into the lead. Wild night and a fun night and an educational night here at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. These 2 head coaches learning a lot about backups, heck, even about who might be their starters in this, the 3rd week of preseason football. And Brian St. Pierre, you can see why they like him. I want to know with the ice on his knee, but no report of an injury. That's just the knee that he had worked on in February.
Yeah, in fact, when we saw him at training camp the other day, he had ice on his knee as well, right towards the end of practice, and he said it was just preventative ice pack.
What do you want to know, Chris?
If Pam's going to interview Wes Howard.
That's Swinton on the return. Good return out to the 36. It's a lot of human going out in the flat for the 2-point conversion.
Look at that cut. Leaning out, turning his body all the way around, making a play. Where's Pam Oliver? Let's get this guy some national airtime. Look at that.
And he's spent a little more time on the spike.
That's an athlete right there now.
Yeah, he knows it too.
He's getting a beer commercial after this broadcast. I guarantee you that.
Oh.
Look at him. He's purdy.
Put him on the big screen.
We may have finally found our replacement for Howie Long.
Just over 4 minutes left. And the dump off to Avian Kason from Clint Sterner. And so it's not Hutchinson trying to get the Cowboys down the field to put them back on top. It's Clint Sterner, and we go back to the kind of semi-whiff on the spike.
Well, Chris, you're going to have to help him with this one. I mean, I can't do much help for him. I never got in the end zone myself, but you got there a couple times at least, didn't you?
Not many, but you've got to know that Wes probably never anticipated getting to use that. Now, he'll practice it this week, getting ready for next week.
He'll want to be in all the packages now.
Certain guys just should have bigger numbers on their jersey. I mean, like physically larger numbers, just because the 4 and the 2 just kind of get lost.
How about 106?
Just on the other side of midfield to bring up 2nd down.
How about Clint Sterner, Troy? Does he have a chance?
Well, he's hanging in there. He's been with the club the last couple of years. He's made 2 starts. He's 1-1 as a starter. But, you know, with Tony Romo, a young rookie they picked up, it's going to be tough to see who's going to be the 3rd quarterback for Dallas.
That's Jamar Martin, and he's thrown backward.
Heck, Chris, they can't even decide who the #1 quarterback is. How am I supposed to know who the 3rd guy is?
You know, you're connected over there. I like asking those Cowboy questions. When all those Bengal issues come up, I'll fill you in there.
There's Tony Romo from Eastern Illinois University in Charleston, Illinois. Guys in the truck are dining on his ribs.
What is it, 12?
3rd down and 7.
His birthday was last week.
Sterner steps up and fires, and in and out of the hands of first Ike Taylor and then Randall Williams.
I'll tell you, Ike Taylor, for a guy that they didn't think he was very far along, but they liked him for his athleticism. The guy has great speed. He's been all over the field tonight. It seems like we've called his name 4 or 5 different times. I think he was the one that got hit in the back of the helmet on that one coverage, but he's been in the right place. If he could have made that play, he might have been star of the game.
Yeah, he has made some plays. Bill Cowher said that this year would be used more as a redshirt year for him than he was, in fact, a year away. But you're right, Chris. He's been all over the place.
4th down and 7, going for it with 2:05 left. Sterner has it knocked out of his hand, being ruled a fumble, and it's picked up by the Steelers. Jackson caused it again. Freewald comes away with it, and the Steelers are on their way to their first preseason victory.
Well, see if it wasn't fumble. In fact, it was. That's what they call the open hand. When he brought the arm back, the ball came out. Alonzo Jackson having an outstanding game, getting pressure here on Clint Sterner and knocking the ball loose for a fumble.
2-minute warning in Pittsburgh with the Steelers up by 1. We are going to look at the game summary as you take a peek at the score, and I think the question at least has to be asked, and I'm not looking for a reason out of either one of the two of you. It's a reason that only Bill Parcells knows, but you've seen Carter and Hutchinson. You're trying to see if Hutchinson can be your guy if it is an open competition. He's played the entire second half. You get the ball back, you're down by 1. Time running out. Why not see if Hutchinson can get the Dallas Cowboys down the field and get them into field goal position? See if they can come out of here with a win.
I think it's a very valid point, Joe, and my response to that would be that they've made a decision, is what I would have to believe, because I agree with you completely. If, in fact, you did not know who your guy was going to be, and granted, this isn't the last preseason game, but you would want to then see what a guy could do in this type of situation, as you mentioned, and they're not doing that.
And maybe they didn't want to muddy the water further.
Because if he does end up leading the Cowboys down the field and getting them in field goal position, and they hit it and they take the lead and they win the game, then the thing is still wide open. So I think that's along the lines that you're talking about. Quincy Carter seems to have won this spot.
Well, it appears that way, but I would also be quick to note that regardless of who starts the opening game against Atlanta, there are no guarantees, one, that he will be the starter in week 2, but that he will even finish the game in week 1. So I don't know what ultimately is going to happen throughout the season, but I have a feeling both of these guys are going to be getting some playing time.
And I've got to say, I'm about 0 for 3 right now trying to predict what Bill Parcells is going to do with these 2 quarterbacks. So you just don't know. I mean, you really do not know. But based on the last 2 weeks, I don't think it was an open competition if Quincy Carter doesn't come out of this as a starter. I just think that he's established himself, and his mobility is the deciding factor, at least as I look at this offensive line and some of the issues that they still have.
By the way, that fumble that was forced by Alonzo Jackson was the first takeaway of this preseason for the Steelers. They led the AFC in that category last year. And a nice run by Dante Brown, who already has a touchdown in this game. Brought down just shy of first down yardage. And the Cowboys will use their final timeout of the night. Tonight's game is being produced by Richie Zients and directed by Artie Kemner. Steve Horn is our editorial consultant here in the booth. The technical producer, Matt Benedict. Technical director is Rich Basili, and the audio mixer, Jeff Cohen. The associate directors are Greg Scopatone. We just know him as Scope. Scope. Derek Manning assists as the associate director. Broadcast associates Judy Huang and Jeremy Green. Pre-game show is produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy. The associate director is Jennifer Love. The studio technical supervisor, Jack Simmons. Senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown. He's with us here in Pittsburgh. And the executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorin and David Hill. And our thanks up here in the booth as well to Dave Schwabe and Ed Svita. And happy birthday 1 day late to Dave Schwabe, who's up here sweating with us in the booth at Heinz Field. 3rd down and 1. Cowboys now out of timeouts. This is Dante Brown. Depends on the spot. Looked to be a little short.
Dante Brown there had an opportunity to get in behind Wes Hours, try to pick up that first down. Instead, he cut back. I think I'd stay behind Wes Hours if I was running the ball.
Well, it got dark behind. Well, he got a little lost.
He didn't see any daylight.
Yeah.
Dante Brown, you talk about him, and he's a guy who has been very impressive in camp, and he's got some great speed. We saw him hit the hole for the touchdown, and 4.4 speed guy out of Memphis State, rookie player, and he looks like he's a guy who has earned a roster spot on this squad.
And if he doesn't, guys, he'll be on the radar list of Bill Parcells and the Cowboys, because they get a 3-week time period to work off last year's 5-11 record, where they're very near the top at picking players off waivers. So between now and when the rosters are cut down, Bill Parcells, Jerry Jones, people who evaluate talent for the Cowboys are going to be scouring those lists of cut players, and the starting running back for the Cowboys may not even be in the stadium tonight.
Yeah, in fact, there's been some speculation as far as whatever ultimately happens with Deuce Staley in Philadelphia, that maybe that's a guy that Dallas could go after.
I tell you, there's a guy in Pittsburgh, excuse me, we're all losing our voice here, that they really like, though, and he's made some plays out here this evening, too, and that's that Veron Hayes. He broke his leg about halfway through the season, and we haven't talked about him a whole lot, but he is a very, very talented young man, and going to be a part of this mix here in Pittsburgh, for sure.
5th-round pick out of Georgia last year. Haynes, they're trying to turn into their 3rd down back. It's 4th down and 1, and they keep it with St. Pierre. And he picks up the 1st down for Pittsburgh, and that will do it for tonight. Cowboys without any timeouts remaining, and it's kneel down time for the Steelers. The Cowboys will head home 1-2 this preseason, and that's how the Steelers come away tonight as well.
Yeah, and I think Bill Cowher, I think he walks off this field feeling like they were able to do some of the things that he wanted to do. They threw the ball pretty well and got a little continuity going, and feel good about the team going into the regular season. Most of these starters won't be playing next week. And Dallas, I don't know. I don't know how much was answered, and I don't know how much Bill Parcells really expected to be answered. This is a team that's got a lot of work and a lot of holes that have to be filled.
And he told us yesterday or the day before, whenever we talked with him, that he expected to make the decision on the quarterback following this game. So I would imagine in the next day or two, the Cowboy fans are going to find out exactly who it's going to be.
Bill Parcells, who will celebrate a birthday tomorrow, and Bill Cowher get together at midfield. Hutchinson and Carter, we came in talking about him, we leave talking about him. This is Joe Buck for Troy Aikman, Cris Collinsworth, and Pam Oliver. So long from Pittsburgh, where once again the final score, the Steelers 15, the Cowboys 14. Up next is the postgame show with JB, Terry, Howie, and Jimmy. Right after these words, for more information on tonight's game and the latest NFL news, log on to foxsports.com. See ya.